Hi there, this is Rory Osteopath here, and this is my video on lymphatic health exercise. So in this video I am going to be running through what lymphatic health exercise is, what its aims are, who it's ideal for, a breakdown of the basic concepts that make up the theory behind it. I'll also be running through a list of the key exercises that really make this happen. Also some practical guidelines as to how to make it most effective. So, a little bit about me first. I've had in the past a history of some emotional and mental health issues, which was actually all cleared up by natural means. So I had reflexology for 14 weeks. Within the 14 weeks of this treatment process, I didn't need to go and see the doctor. I had no need for pharmaceutical drugs and or counselling, and it was a very interesting process to go through, and it's kind of started me off on a really interesting new path in my life to sort of discover about self-healing mechanisms. I did massage, then I became an osteopath in 2014. So studying osteopathy confirmed and affirmed my own philosophies and concepts that I was thinking about this whole time. And since then I have had a continued interest in mood and energy level regulation of the body. So what is lymphatic health exercise? Well, I like to describe it as a way to look at exercise and maintain health. I don't mean that as in the way, but it's a way to look at moving. It's something that I have been developing since 2017, and like osteopathy, it's not looked as a way of fixing something or curing anything in the body, and it's not the only way to move. It also stems from the concepts that inspire it, and by that I mean the concepts of the lymphatic system, the concepts of holistic health from an osteopathic perspective, and the concept of what actually is exercise. It's taken from my experiential learning of yoga, Qigong, mindfulness, dance, meditation through music, osteopathic concepts and treatment, breathing techniques, pain science, neuroplasticity science, exercise science, my own self-healing journeys, and clearing my own pains and fatigue, etc. I also think it's a way to maintain mental, emotional, physical, and metabolic health. And it's a way to transfer the similar concepts of osteopathic treatment into simple, fun, and safe movements and exercise routines. It's also hopefully a potential gateway to exploring other exercise routes, like for instance yoga or Qigong or things like this. So what are the aims of lymphatic health exercise? It's there to help efficiently refresh your lymphatic and immune systems, to effectively activate freedom of motion between your muscles and connective tissues. It's there to help balance your blood metabolism via clearing stress hormones, removing waste products, balancing blood sugar levels, and balancing blood CO2 and O2 levels. It's also there to help drain your internal organs and digestive tract. It's also there to re-energize your whole system via balancing bioelectrical flow or piezoelectrical flow. And importantly, the basic lymphatic health routine does not aim to address pain, aches, stiffness, fatigue as such, or an individual's condition. This takes full consultation, assessment, and tailored guidance, such as osteopathic consultation, to address these factors. Or anyone else that's into exercise prescription that looks at a holistic level, but for me, osteopathy really finds a way to listen to what your body needs as well. So who is lymphatic health exercise ideal for? If you are or feel too inactive, for example desk-based work postures, or if you don't feel you have enough time to exercise properly, If you're interested but not yet used to exercise, this is a good thing to be able to look into. If you have tried other ways to exercise but have had bad experiences, for example, if you weren't taught in a way in which was understandable for you. It's also great for anyone who wants to explore a new way to exercise for feeling healthy. And finally, it's great for boosting motivation to move healthily in general. So understanding a simple breakdown of the concepts is really good for boosting the motivation for actioning lymphatic health exercise. First of all, I like to talk about health. So what is health? Health is multifactorial, okay? So by that we mean there's a lot of factors that affect human health. It's very difficult to separate these factors and test them individually as to what is the cause. So we have to look at health from a holistic perspective in order to understand how things might affect it, and we can break it down into these positive affecting factors such as eating well, moving well, sleeping well, breathing well. Sense of purpose in life is very important for people's health. This list is non-exhaustive, but there's also having sufficient self-expression in your life. That's very important too. And so all these factors potentially can be making us feel either better or worse. But in reality, it's not really a black or white situation with health, but it can feel like that. We will change from moment to moment feeling unhealthy or healthy, just with our actions or our thoughts even. The negative factors that are also worth bearing in mind are such as inactivity. Life needs movement, and when we are too inactive, things start to just show up. There's also things like the nocebo effect, which is if you believe something is bad for you, it will have a negative effect on your health as such as well. And there's also things like fear of missing out and too much information and social media, all these things can provide an environment, if overexposed, can negatively impact our health. There's also the mind and the emotions controlling our breath patterns rather than the other way round. That's another factor that's important to remember. So even one of these factors being out of balance could be making a big difference in our lives without us realising. So exercise might be one of those factors that's missing, or if it's not, then it's maybe something else. That's why holistic practitioners are very good at looking at the factors which might be affecting your health without you realising. The next important concept is exercise. So what is exercise? Exercise is a conscious action to improve our health, or in fact a skill in general. So skill is learned and organised in the brain by varying factors such as the force of the movement, the range of motion of the movement, the endurance, how long we can endure it for, and the velocity of the movement. So it's important to bear in mind with these things that all movement is task specific, not necessarily muscle specific. So all movement is goal orientated, and every action in every situation has a unique process and skill base in the brain. What's also very interesting is that gradual and moderated overloading promotes positive tissue adaptation and repair processes. By that we mean that if you stay within your comfort zone of movement, the tissues don't really adapt. If you do inactivity, then the brain and the body will potentially lose the skills over time. But what is really important to remember is that at any time in our lives, when we start to challenge that process again, but not over challenge it too much too quickly, then we can have the opportunity to adapt, and our tissues will respond eventually over time. So in life, there are unique actions such as tennis, golf or snooker, and common shared actions between us all, which is like walking, carrying bags, lifting or putting on shoes. It's important to be able to manage all of these actions well and enjoy the ones that we like to do too. And so what does this all mean for you? It means do what exercise you enjoy doing and not doing exercises that you resent doing unless the symptoms are affecting the common shared tasks of life, and then you need to practice those in a certain way, and that can potentially take consultation too to be able to guide you there if you're struggling. What else does it mean? So do exercise that works for you, and do exercise that challenges your body into developing skill of life goals or what you enjoy doing recreationally. Benefits come from increasing the force, the duration, the range and the repetition of an activity. Also, benefits come from learning new types of activity, which is where neuroplasticity plays a big part in this process. So the third and final concept that's really important to understand when doing lymphatic health exercise for your health is the lymphatic system. Okay, so the lymphatic system has two major functions that you need to know about. One is that it helps the pressurization of our fluid transport systems. To understand the system of pressure, I often use the analogy of the house's central heating system. And so you pressurize, you bleed the radiators and you pressurize it at that end, and then you can set the pressure of the boiler to where it should be. So the boiler could be working very hard, but if the radiators aren't bled at the other end, then it doesn't matter how hard the boiler works, the heating won't get round. And so I like to call the body an adaptable closed system of pressure. So if the body is like the heart in our system, if we're not moving around so much, then it's going to be working too hard to try and get everything everywhere. And so the lymphatic system aids blood pressure changes by allowing fluid to fall out into it when we are feeling calm, and then the fluid gets sucked back into the system when we start to speed back up again. So lymphatic flow is a one-way system from the periphery back to the heart again, moved by mainly muscle contraction, but there is also some nervous system involvement in the speeding up of this process. I like to talk about pressing a thumb over a normal tap flow. The flow stays the same. As you press on the tap, over the tap, the flow speeds up, and that's what our nervous system does to get our blood pressure up. So there's also some osmotic backflow of the lymph fluid at the cellular level, which also maintains our pressurization. Function 2 is all about the immunity. So there's three functional elements to the immune system. There's the fighting of invaders, there's waste clearance, and also repairing our system at the same time. So most people tend to only think of fighting when it comes to the immune system function, rather than the repair process and waste clearance. And it's important to remember this. So there is the concept of time sharing on these functional elements, such as too much time spent on fighting something off can mean there's potentially less time to help with repair processes or taking out the waste products. In terms of lymphatic health exercise, a quick review of the anatomy of the lymphatics is important to remember. Lymphatic vessels are found everywhere down to the cellular level, like blood vessels, following a similar gradient down from very large centrally out to very tiny to the outer parts of the body. And the more science cares to look, the more they have found. So they have recently just found out about the brain lymphatic system, which is called the glymphatic system. The nodes are like checkpoints for the immune system and are more prevalent in the chest, neck and inguinal areas, which is where the inside of the hips are. There's also vessels and nodes which are very, very prominent around organs such as the liver, the spleen, and digestive tract. Osteopathically, there are deep, long lever connective fascial pumps that exist centrally, such as connecting to the diaphragm, and peripherally found in the shoulder girdles and in the calves. Within the calves have a very important role in taking the pressure off the heart. The combination of stretching of the calf muscles and at the hinge of the ankle, and where the transverse arch stretches and squashes when we actually put weight through our foot, that all of those combined make a massive vacuum pump for the lymphatic system back up into the body. So I'm going to run through a list of some key exercises that I feel really get the lymphatic system moving very efficiently and quickly. We're running through this in the order from calm to rousing, such as for instance when you're waking up in the morning, but you can also do this running from, say, rouse to calm, such as in the afternoon or before winding down for the evening. So breath control throughout. So we're always looking to run breathing through the nose unless you're doing special breathing techniques or talking or chewing. So with breath control we're looking to be breathing through the nose, relaxed, mindful, and down into the belly. But first of all, there's always breathing through our nose with the mouth shut, because this helps us to breathe down into the belly using the diaphragm only, and it's relaxed. They're the three main rules, and it's also just going as little as possible. It stops us from getting rid of too much carbon dioxide as well. So if you start to feel like you need more air, then just go a bit deeper, change that rhythm a little bit, but try to keep mindful of your breath throughout all of the exercises. And we want to try and use at least as muscles as possible so that we get flow through the muscles that are relaxed, so the muscles can vibrate properly. If they're tense, then forces travel through them and they don't drain as properly. Secondly, standing posture. So calm, standing, meditative posture includes never locking the knees as you're standing. You just drop your knees slightly into an unlocked position. So it's not necessarily at all bent, in fact, it's just not locked back. And if you find it more easy, drop down and come up slowly until you find that you're standing more straight but not pushing back into a locked knee position. So we're just going to come up till we feel our knees are slightly bent, and then we're going to breathe down into the belly for a moment. We're going to roll the shoulders back, let them fall down so the collarbones come onto the ribs, and then we're just going to relax them again. So they can tilt forwards and roll slightly, but it makes us straighten our spine, relax the shoulders. We're going to tilt the chin down slightly, which is going to open up the joints in the back. But this is again just tiny movements, relaxed movements. Drop into this posture, and then you'll notice that your spine is straight, the shoulders are back as possible but relaxed, and there's a whole flow of relaxation that runs from head to toe this way. And then we can drop into the breathing again. So slow, relaxed, as little as possible. Nasal. Tongue is on the roof of the mouth, touching the tip of the teeth at the back. And importantly, relax where possible. If you need to move, then move. Feel where your balance is. You can also body scan here for a moment if you want to. You can go and think about your left foot and breathe and relax that left foot. Then move on to the right foot, then the leg, the knee, the hip, the thigh, the belly, the lower back, the shoulders, the arms, the hands. And this all helps us to breathe a bit more and stay in this posture a little bit more, and focus. If we do have tension somewhere, you know, you can draw your attention away from it for a bit, or you can focus it and be okay with it being uncomfortable and see if it relaxes with your breathing processes. There's all things to explore as you're breathing and standing. Standing meditation is one of the most basic and fundamental things you can do. Sitting is actually less natural for us and actually uses up much more muscle tension. When we're standing and we get our posture right, standing, but relaxed, there's less effort, which means we can relax much better and breathe more relaxed and more deep. Next, we're going to do the tapping sequence. So, first of all, tapping creates the nice vibrations through the cells of the body. If you think about massage, when you press into a muscle, it can only go so far, whereas tapping will actually go through and vibrate through all of the tissues, even through to the back if it's heavy enough. So there's lymph nodes in the neck and chest area especially, and in the guinal areas here, and there's also a lot of deep ones around where the organs are here, and there's the sinuses too. And so we're just going to run through tapping around the whole body. So first of all, you're going to take quite strong fingers and loose wrists, just tap on the lower ribs here. Play around with where it is. Don't tap too hard if it's sore, but go as hard as you can or as you like. If you find a sore spot, just see if it changes, but as long as it's not getting worse. That's the low ribs. Then use fists for the upper ribs into the pectoral muscles, crossing over here and then here. Nice strong fist with really loose wrist. Double down the arms. You can use a cup if you want, or a fist. Down the arms, down the inside, down the outside. To the side. Joisting. Again, cupping is quite good for reaching up. If it's sore in the shoulder or something, just joist up and reach up. And swap over. Or you can use a loose fist again. You can comb down your neck, just cleaning out some of those lymph nodes in the neck there. Nice and light but strong fingers. Tapping into the cheekbones, so like pinching the fingers and thumbs together. Just underneath the eyes, on the bone. This will really get into the sinuses. Draining the face. Go along the jaw. You can do this for as long as you like. We're running through it quite quickly. Heavy but loose onto the scalp there. Abdominal, rubby belly, buttocks. I like straight arms here, heavy, straight arms, loose wrists again. If you lean forwards, you notice that the muscles tighten up. That goes into the tendons, and then leaning backwards goes into the muscle belly. Same for the lower back. Lean forwards into the tendinous areas, and lean back into the muscle bulk of the lower back. You're not hitting the kidneys at this point, so that's okay. Kidneys are further up, as long as you're just above the sacrum bone and the pelvis. down the legs, on the inside, on the back and the front, on the inside and the outside. Next we think about shaking off, so just going to shake the wrists first of all. Imagine you're shaking water off your wrists with a good flick. And then shaking the ankles, give them a nice loose, relaxed shake. You can alternate like this as well, like kicking a football. And then shake all over. Let your jaw go. And there's also a short, sharp bobbing, shaking. Let the shoulders go. Twist a little bit. See how you go with your twist. Never do anything that aggravates any pain or ache. As I say, we're not addressing pains and aches or fatigue with this. This is just to help go with the flow. Your lymph. Next we're going to do some bobbing, which is much more of a slower rhythm than a shaking. And we're catching ourselves and pushing ourselves back up at the same time. So drop and push, drop, push, drop, push. It creates a nice vibration up the spine, which is going to help with draining your spinal muscles, which are on all the time from us sitting, working. It's great to get this all shifting in there and around the spine. Let the head go a little bit. Let the shoulders flap about if they do. Get your own rhythm. Find your own rhythm that feels good, as long as you're only using the minimum amount of muscle effort. Back to the breath. Drop into it slow. Don't rush it. Count to about 6 for a breath in, 6 for a breath out. Next we have the same thing, bobbing, but with some humming, which humming will help to create vibration through the center line of our body, creating vibration, and we can focus on thinking about humming by pursing our lips and jaw up just lightly, but as much as necessary to send vibration up into the brain, into the sinuses, pineal gland, or down into the thyroid and thymus area. Or we can even direct it down into the gut and the adrenals and the kidney area lower. So we'll do 3 different points. So humming also really helps the flow to go slowly out through the nasal cavity, which will help to create a lot of nitric oxide, which is also very useful for our lung health and actually our blood metabolism health too. So when we're breathing in slowly and or humming, we're vibrating those cells that create that nitric oxide, and it will then, as you breathe back in slowly, it will draw down into the lungs and help to bronchodilate the lungs as well. So the thyroid area. like to do that 3 or 4 times for each, but you can do it in your own time. And then there's the adrenals and the kidney area and this area. So we can alternate our hips instead as we do it and focus the vibration of the humming down to there instead. Lean backwards slightly, that will tense up and get the vibration there. Next we're going to do a nice warm-up stretching exercise. We're going to open the lungs up, stretch the ribs out, at the same time as either stretching or squashing the front or the back, depending on whether we're lifting up or self-hugging. So reach out or self-hug. So here we go. I'll show you this way round. So breathe in. And out. Tilt from here, not from the hips. Tilting, opening up the lower back, the mid back. Nice stretch for the spine there. And try different arm positions. Breathing in at the end range of either this way or that way helps to stretch the tissues a little bit further. Think about squeezing out the back muscles or stretching the front muscles. Think about squeezing the front muscles or stretching the back muscles. There are major long lever pumps in the body connected to the connective tissue, deep in the calves and deep in the shoulders. So calf pumping is very, very useful for this process to take the pressure off the heart and drain everything from the lower part up into the upper half of the body. If you don't have a surface, then just work with your coming up onto tiptoes and stretch and squash. So you're squashing the calf as you're lifting it and stretching it as it drops down, making sure your archway is pumping in your foot and there's a big enough hinge going on and the muscles are stretching and squashing. If you have a surface, you can come to it and just lean, which will create a bigger hinge and a deeper stretch for the calves. But it's not about stretching too much, we're just going to pump, relaxed pump. Find where it naturally wants to end the stretch, not go beyond the stretch or deep stretch, just naturally where it stops and pump. 30 seconds is enough of pumping, unless you feel you want to do more. Next we could do push-ups or push-offs. So push-ups, if you're used to doing push-ups, you can do on the floor and it's just going to get that shoulder pumps going. I'm going to do it off the here to make it easier for people as well if they're finding it difficult. So we can just drop through on a surface, on a wall, on a bench, and the more the gradient you do, the more effort it will take. But it's about the pump, not the effort too much, but you'll be strengthening if you go with more force and endurance. Next is a great one. It's one of my favourites for waking up the body. If you've not got much time, then this one is brilliant. This one is going to get your spine pumping and your shoulders pumping, and as we said before in the theory videos of lymphatic pumps, if you get something moving, it's going to drain everywhere really well. So this is a full body movement, and it's again using the bobbing sort of technique, but we're just going to swing our arms a little bit first and pretend that your arms are not yours. So you're just going to flick them up, flick, flick, and relax as they drop down. As little of your muscle effort as possible. Flick, drop, flick, drop. Find your own rhythm. Again, doesn't have to be this one. It can be something faster if you feel like you've got more energy to use up, or if you feel pretty tired and you just want to warm yourself up slowly, go slow. And you're flicking up and just giving your back muscles a little bit of a squeeze. The pelvis is just rocking backwards there a little bit, and again, you're not squeezing into the end range too much at all. It's just about the pump and the relaxed rhythm. Back to the breath. This one's great for doing for 2 minutes at least. But if you've got 30 seconds, then just do this for 30 seconds and you'll feel a lot better. And then slow it back down. Tiny is great too. Tiny movements are just as important as fast or strong movements in the brain for learning about movement. We can be very strong, tough, fast. If we can't do small and slow, that could potentially be affecting us as well. These are the fun ones now, so I call these the spinal dances, because there's ligaments on the front and the back of the spine which help to stop our spine from overstretching too much, but also as we move and our spine moves, we create a really great fluid drainage pump for those areas, the discs, the joints, the spaces where the nerves come out, the lymphatics for the spine. It's all great movements. So I like to split it into 3 different types of movements. There's either forwards, backwards, side bending, or there's twisting. So the forwards and backwards one is a bit like Mr. Bean at the disco. So first of all, we're going to need to get our hip movements correct, which is basically if you're not used to this, put your hands on your hips, tilt forwards, tilt back. If you find this difficult, then try to feel your thumbs dropping down and the fingers coming up at the same time, and then you can even try turning your pelvis. If you really can't find those muscles, then activate them by making your hands turn your pelvis, and then once you feel that motion, then get it moving. In that way, it becomes a relaxed pump again. Nothing too squeezy or pushy. It's a relaxed mid-range pump. Once we've got that pump going, think about just ducking the head down as the thumbs tilt down, and creating a C-shaped spine, then an S-shaped spine. C-shape, S-shape. Once you've got that going, you can stick with that until you feel you've got it. And then we're going to start swinging the hands forwards, coming towards the head. And we can start to get our shoulders pumping a little bit, so they go back into the S shape, forwards into the C shape. It becomes like a monkey playing an accordion, maybe. A very big accordion. And this is where it becomes Mr. Bean a bit, so you can play around with the motion. Stay relaxed, stay pain-free, stay ache-free, stay stiffness-free. Only go where it's comfortable, and that range will change over time. Start bringing the hands up into more of a salute. Think about just bouncing into the back muscles. If it's okay to, there's no problems. Then you can squeeze out the back muscles a bit, reach up a little bit into the S shape. Play around with your arm positions and shoulder positions. This is going to really help with your upper body lymphatic pump of the chest, getting those ribs really moving. Slow and long and stretchy, or fast and quick. However you feel. Variety is the spice of life. Next one is the side bending spinal dance. So here we go, we're just going to put our hands on our hips again and just feel, unlock and lock the knees. So just getting the hips to drop up, drop down and sync up. And it's really about getting the shoulders to drop as well, coming up, dropping down towards the one that's coming up, so we can get a fanning of the ribs as on one side as we close the ribs on the other. This reflects on hand, we start to add hand motions. To get that rhythm, if you're finding it difficult, just stick with the pelvic motion, but then start the arms process. We can do a sort of more football version. I like to call this disco hips as well. Bit of Kylie action. And then we've got reaching up as well. This really gets more of a squeeze, so you can bring your feet more close together a little bit, but don't go pushing. Just reach up. You could do long, slow stretch. Keeping those knees unlocking and locking. And then or faster mid-range stuff. Widen again. You can even do a, if you can get into that rhythm, keep that rhythm, you can do a punch in the air. Play around with that. Different placements of your hands. Play around. Fast or slow. The third and final spinal dance is the rotational one. So I find it easier to think about, again, the pelvis first. So we're just going to start walking on the spot. And hand to eye coordination and crossing over is good for the nervous system. So just slap the hands on the thighs for a bit, just to get into that rotational rhythm of the lower back and the mid back. And then we can start to turn over our knee that's coming up straight. So we're not crossing too much like this, just walking on the spot with the knees coming straight up, and then you're turning from the torso, your hands and your chest and your head all turning like a robot over it. Relax once you've got there. All the while within these, come back to the breath once you've got the rhythm, and go slow with the rhythm and the breath. We're going to start to tap now, which is the same rhythm, but tapping our toes, stretching, 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 but relaxed, not pushing. It's just a nice stretch into the hips there, reaching out away from the toe that's pointing. Looking up at your hands, don't reach too back if you've got any neck problems. Just keep looking at the hands. You can do da 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 da, New York style. Oh, we could then become rocking the baby, leaning over. Again, don't push too hard if you've got any issues with spine. Just go tiny and let that range get bigger over time. Another one of my favourites, if you've only got a little bit of time, dropping down, again, Qigong style stance, and we're just going to just turn from the back up, switch off the muscles in our arms and our shoulders, and just let them swing wherever they swing, and get into the rhythm of the twist, whereby we create the hands and the arms just end up slapping the front and the back of the abdominals and the lower back regions. Keep the head with the chest for the moment. Start to introduce a little bit more return with the head, just to open up the neck a bit. Just relax, don't go into a stretch, you're just going into the end range of your natural stretch point. Dropping down, go a bit wider. We're keeping the pelvis relatively still in terms of facing forwards. So it's all coming from the mid-back. Drop down into the breath again, slow, relaxed. 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Relax. Then there's a long lever one where we come round and then we twist the hip a bit and drop. A little bit of a calf pump. Not too much of a stretch, just let it be a bit of a twist and a stretch of the calf. Standing up, dropping down, coming up to the centre, dropping down. Nice and slow with this because it's a deep stretch for the spine and the hips. Back to the breath. There's also, coming back to a more central point, you can do short, sharp shock. Just allowing our arms to really relax. You can flick them up onto the top and slap the top of your chest. At the same time, this is always knocking onto the back side of the spine there. And then back. 30 seconds is enough of fast stuff or deep stuff. Relax. See if your range has changed with your breath or the length of pumping time. Relax. There's another one of my absolute favourites. This is the Super Brain Yoga Squat. This is going to create a massive fluid pump very quickly. So you need to look out and be careful and listen to your body with this, because it does get a rush of blood very quickly. So you can do them, again, you can do everything slower and less deep and see how you go with it. It's basically essentially breathing in through the nose as you drop down into a squat. We're also going to create pressure, like I was talking about with the thumb over the tap. The flow gets faster if you close the hole that the flow is coming through. So we're creating pressure and we're breathing in and dropping down into a squat, which is going to stretch the calves, squish the inguinal lymph nodes. It's going to pressurize over the chest and creates a massive fluid drainage for the sinuses. This has been proven to help with children with ADHD and autism. It helps them to calm down, and if they can manage it, they're dealing with a lot of stress and not being able to self-express a lot of the time, and they've got a lot of stress chemicals and waste products. So this really drains the brain as well. It clears things very quickly, and it's again another thing that you can do if you're feeling quite fatigued and you just want to wake up quite quickly. The longer and more you do of this stuff, the better, but there's a few exercises that are great for just waking the body up pretty quickly. So we're going to, first of all, just get into a place where we can squat. And again, if you think you can't squat, then just go into, you can always do some movement. This is a squat as much as this is a squat. It's not about how far you go, it's about doing it. So hands on the hips just to feel, just to see how you go. Typically a buttock toning squat would be to not let the knees come past the feet. So it would be to tone the buttocks would be to do this that they talk about in a gym style squat. We're going low to create fluid drainage, so it doesn't matter. And in fact, you can come up onto your toes if you can go lower, tiptoes, or keep the heels down for an extra stretch into the calves. No right or wrong, play around with it. But first of all, we're going to bring one hand over the other, and it's going to be like a W shape. Hands on. This is going to create pressure across the front of the thorax and the ribs, and across all the lymph nodes here. We're going to hold on to the earlobes, which is going to create a very nice stretch down and out that pulls onto the connective tissue that connects to the tentorium sinus area. So just going to go out and down, and then we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose slowly and drop down into the squat. So you've seen how far you can go already, so go there and breathe in. Let it out slowly. I say just do 3, see how you feel if you've never done it before. But you can do up to 30 seconds, and again, it's not how many you do in that 30 seconds, it's about doing them with enough intention and potency. We talked about the deep pumps in the shoulders and the calves, and what gets that going most? Star jumps are great. If you feel like you are struggling or that you can't jump, then there is an alternate version. We can do star pumps. So we can think about dropping down, coming up off onto one foot, making sure you can balance all right, and then stepping up onto tiptoe whilst we do the raise up with the hands, come down, alternate, up onto tiptoe, down, up. Go nice and slowly, methodically. Once you've got the habit of it, you can do strong if necessary. A real star jump isn't about jumping as high as you can, it's about just twitching it enough to get wide, and it's catching yourself so you're not causing so much shock into the body. So do little and see how far you can go and how wide you can go, and then the arms are just relaxed. Keep the shoulders relaxed, and it's the arms that come up, and it's the pump that's important again. So here we go. Nice and relaxed. Back to the breath. It's quite a good exercise in trying not to make noise, because it means that you're catching yourself and you're stretching and pumping, but you're not creating too much shock through the body. Finally, another great energetic one, which is works on the centralized pump of the body, and gives the actual diaphragm a rest for a moment, but creates a great ventilation and fluid pump in the central areas of the body. So it's called the breath of fire in Kundalini yoga technique, and it creates a fluid pump using the abdominal muscles rather than actually breathing, using a breathing mechanism. So find your abdominals by just putting your hands on the chest, hand on the belly, and you're going to bring and suck in the belly using muscles. So squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax. That's where the abdominals are, for you to be able to use them more like a twitch now. So we're just going to twitch by going mouth shut, tongue on the roof of the mouth, and it keeps the pressure down into the lungs, and we're firing the air up out of our nostrils using the abdominals. So hands on the hips here, just drop down slightly to give yourself space to, and tilt even by a millimetre or two will just give slack for the belly muscles here. You can do it sitting, which will take the pressure off even further. It's typically done sitting, but if you can drop and tilt slightly, you can do it standing too. Nice and relaxed, and then important to remember to relax after each one. It's better to do them one properly than to do a lot of ones where you're tensing up too much. So it's there's more of a cardiovascular version that creates more drainage up here by holding the arms quite tight. It creates vibration and pumping motions to move further into and condense around here. And then flicking as well. And that will be draining all of your gut, all the lungs and the heart. It will help to drain the sinuses. It helps a general lymphatic flow throughout the whole body and will help with your whole well-being. So thank you for watching that list of exercises. If you feel that there's anything worrying or concerns about your health, it's always worthwhile checking in with your local osteopath. They can now do telephone consultations as well, and actually it's been proven that it works very well with the case history, diagnosis, assessment, advice and reassurance, and all of these things that go hand in hand with what osteopathy truly is. So at some point we will be able to put our hands back on and work, but in the meantime, bear in mind that osteopathy is there for you and it can potentially help with a lot of your concerns to do with pain, aches and fatigue. Many thanks. And so finally, just some quick guidelines for safety and efficiency. Intention is very important. So the intention of what you're doing will mean how effective you can be with what you're doing, because any movement can look the same from the outside, but you could be intending to be working on your muscles or pumping the joints or stretching the fascia. So these factors that I include as intention factors to consider are breathing. So when you're doing the exercise, you could be focusing on your breath, or you could be relaxing your muscles whilst you're doing a particular movement. You could be thinking about squeezing some muscles out, so squeezing out the back muscles, or stretching the front muscles, or you could be focusing on stretching the fascia, which is the stuff wrapped around the muscle. You could be thinking about being very relaxed with it all, even more so to pump your joints, or you could be thinking about pumping your lymph. And you can also think about speed and range of motion and the link between the two. So when I say that, I mean it's quite good to stay long and slow when you move, or mid-range and quite fast. There's no right or wrong in exploring movement, and go with how you feel. Other factors to consider are consistently remembering to come back to the breath where possible, consistently remembering to relax the muscle systems where possible. Body scanning is very useful during a particular pumping or meditation exercise to help prolong the duration of your repetitions. So by that I mean walking through, imagining different parts of your body whilst you're doing the exercises will mean that when you do the whole scan of the body, you will then have done the exercise probably a lot more times than you would have done if you hadn't been body scanning. It's also important to close or open your eyes depending on which one helps you to be more mindful or present in the moment. So if you're used to closing your eyes with an exercise and your mind is wandering, then open the eyes. Or if you have your eyes open and you find it difficult to concentrate, then try closing your eyes. Other things to remember: if you are doing larger or wider range of motions, then go with slower movements to help protect your joints. Or if you're doing faster movements, then go with smaller mid-range range of motions in order to protect your joints too. And finally, stay in the stiffness, ache or pain-free range, or in a non-pain affecting movement range. Basically, let the range grow naturally over time with intervals of rest without aggravating anything in the moment, where possible. So thank you for your time, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Please feel free to go to my channel and click subscribe, like it, leave some comments, and please share with anyone that you feel might benefit from this, because there's not enough information about this sort of stuff out there. So many thanks and take care. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.